the Republican memo appears to be almost entirely correct, and the Democrats' responding memo looks to be like an attempt to cover up the truth. First and foremost, I had an issue with the way this was written right from page 2. Carter Page here is presented to the FISA court by the FBI and DOJ not as a suspected agent of a foreign power, but as a full agent of a foreign power. Now keep in mind, this isn't a court trying to establish guilt. This is a court that is trying to grant surveillance power on someone who is suspected of being guilty. If they were already sure of his guilt, why did they have to have the surveillance? Doesn't evidence come before guilt? This is a point that I don't see anyone in the media making today. This is how the FISA court should operate, where the government can declare you guilty. They can declare you guilty without a trial. And then they can say, we need to snoop around and look at his stuff. They can use this to restrict your constitutional rights. Is that what's going on? Because if it is, we should all be in an uproar over this. That, by the way, is just on page 2. You move on. Page 13, 14, and 22 seem to be what the Democratic memo was referencing when they stated that the dossier wasn't the sole source of information used to grant the FISA warrant. The heavily redacted information on pages 13 and 14 referenced the FBI case I was talking about earlier, where the FBI cleared Page of any wrongdoing after the Russians tried to use him as an asset. So if he was already declared innocent back in 2015, why is he now a declared agent and they're using the same information to prove his guilt? It doesn't make any sense. Page 22. This one references a Yahoo News article that stated that Page met with Russian government officials when he was giving his speech in Russia at the New Economics School. Wait a minute. Who was the source on that? We were talking about this just a couple of minutes ago. The information came from the Steele dossier. So the FBI was citing a Yahoo News article that they were claiming backed up the information in the dossier. But the information Yahoo News reported on and the information the FBI was basing this entire FISA warrant on was the same person, Christopher Steele. This is what we feared when we first saw this. Now we have evidence that it is true. The man working on the opposition research, bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton and the DNC. But as the Republican memo stated, was this information disclosed in the FISA application? Well, this one really is important, because if they didn't say that, hey, this document came from Donald Trump's competitor, Hillary Clinton, that seems to be some pretty important information. Democrats say they did. I'll let you be the judge. This is what it says in a footnote at the end of page 15. Source number 1, that's Christopher Steele, who now owns a foreign business financial intelligence firm, was approached by an identified U.S. person, that would be Fusion GPS, who indicated that source number 1, Steele, that a U.S.-based law firm had hired an identified U.S. person to conduct research regarding candidate 1's, that's Donald Trump, ties to Russia. The FBI speculates that the identified U.S. person was likely looking for information that could be used to discredit candidate number 1's campaign. Did you notice here? You didn't see opposition research. That's important. They say they speculate that this information could be used to discredit Donald Trump. But that's really odd language, considering they knew that Fusion GPS was on an opposition research team that had been hired by the DNC and Clinton to make Trump look bad. Now, if they were being absolutely forthright and truthful, it would have read something like this. Candidate number 2, Hillary, and political party number 2, DNC, hired U.S. person number 1, Fusion GPS, who then hired source number 1, Steele, to do opposition research on candidate number 2's rival in the election. Read it like that, and you're good. Read it the other way, and tell me the FBI wasn't trying to be deceptive. There's no other way to put it. Outright omitting the facts and using language that is soft to hide other facts is deception. The Steele dossier was the primary source for the FISA warrant, and the people that commissioned it were purposely concealing that from the court. The FBI and the DOJ look horrible here. And if they were doing this over political bias, they look even worse. But the FISA court. Something has to be done about this FISA court. It's out of control and a sham of a system. How many more cases like this one have to be passed? How many more Americans are being surveilled right now on trumped-up charges like the ones on Carter Page? It's unconstitutional. The relationship between the FBI, DOJ, and the FISA court needs an immediate audit. Every major news outlet, politician, and citizen should be demanding that.